Hello, friends. Today, I have the pleasure of talking with one of our top authors, Janis Isaman, and we're going to hear a little about how she's writing and also about the topics that she's writing. So, how are you today, Janis?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm feeling very good. Happy to talk to you. Happy to hear your voice. And yeah, many people are reading your articles, and of course, you're also very active in the academy. And of course, the first question is like, how do you write? Like, how do you get inspiration for your writing? How do you get started? Maybe you want to share a little of that with us.
Yeah, so a lot of writers will write every day, but I own a business and I lone parent a child. So I'm not a person who's actually writing every day. What I do instead is time chunk a block of 4 to 6 hours and I write because that's when I can actually feel like I can focus. I can really get into the emotion and the vulnerability and get into that creativity and take the reader through the story. It's really hard for me to write for just 20 minutes because I have just barely broken my focus from something else and then I have to kind of task switch. So for me, that's what works in my life. And those ideas really come from what I'm going through. So I'm a business owner, I'm a parent, I am a student of a psychotherapeutic technique called compassionate inquiry. And so I'm constantly doing levels upon levels upon levels of self inquiry and self exploration. And a lot of the things that I write about are things that I have struggled with or might have had shame around or felt embarrassed about. And I'm putting voice to paper. And quite often, what comes back to me from readers is, me too. You put words to my experience. I don't feel alone.
And that's almost too perfect to be true. And like that brings me to the next question. You wrote recently an article about the myth of the perfect mother. So how would you describe like the our all like trying to be perfect? Like what's your take on that?
Well, that article really came about because I have a school age child, and I noticed in his primary school years that I felt really like I couldn't keep up with what was expected of me a lot. And that piece opens with me in the schoolyard on the first day of school trying to pose my child under a tree so that I could post a picture on Instagram. And I was seeing everybody else with the chalkboard kind of announcing their child's grade and their teacher and their hobbies. And the child has this perfectly buttoned up shirt and padded down hair with a new haircut and clean shoes and smiling. And my child was looking at me with impish eyes and running away from the tree as his hair is kind of springing up. And I was like, you know what? Fuck the chalkboard. I can't do this, because he won't even stay still for a picture. And I kept that sort of shame inside me that I wasn't a perfect mother. I wasn't able to keep up. I wasn't able to perform what was expected of me and have it all together with my own clothes perfectly put together and my own body perfectly toned and my child in this perfect organization and then put the picture up on Facebook. So I really had to work through what it was to be a good mother in our society, because it's easy to say, oh, forget it, you don't need to do that. But those internal feelings stay with us and
Mhm.
they really come with us through our pathway. And this actually, interestingly, has been read by a lot of people who are not parents at all. And it's
Mhm.
still very relatable.
Yeah, that would be my next question. Like, what were the reactions to that, and how in general do you deal with people reacting to your writing? Because we show ourselves from a vulnerable side, and like, how do you feel when maybe somebody doesn't agree? Or
I embrace that. At first, it was really challenging because I do have an article out there on lone parenting, and that article has been read about 450,000 times, and it's been on the Facebook page many times. And it does inspire a certain percentage of people that get very triggered and very reactive to it. So,
Hmm.
not everything that's coming out is positive. But I learned over time that that is actually wonderful, because if that person had such a strong emotional reaction that they're going on Facebook to write that comment, it's
Mhm.
something within them that they get a chance to explore, they get a chance to look at. And
Mhm.
I actually love dialoguing with readers who don't agree with me, because we're not getting into a fight on Facebook by any means, but they often don't realize that the authors are actually reading the comments. And it is an opportunity and an open door to say, hey, that was a really interesting take on that article, or thank you for your contribution, or you have a great story coming from a totally different angle. Maybe Elephant Journal would like to hear your story too.
Mm.
So of course, every author loves the positive comments, and we get a lot of them. I get comments and connections literally every day through my Facebook or Instagram or email, commenting on articles that sometimes are actually quite old, where people are telling me that they feel quite seen, they feel heard, they don't feel alone. I love those, but I equally love the dialogue that's a little bit scrappy and a little bit punchy.
It's very interesting that you bring that up. So like an advice for writers would like not to take it personal, because those people commenting, they don't even think about the author like as a person in that way. And then interacting with people that comment on articles, maybe even disagree, can also like maybe inspire you like for new articles. Have you experienced that you kind of feel like, oh, after that comment, now I want to write another one kind of?
Yeah. And there's definitely been comments where I feel that it was maybe an angle that I didn't see, or that that's a perspective that I didn't appreciate, or that I don't know anything about. And so it does bring us into this place of actual dialogue. The point of writing isn't to have unlimited adulation where everybody says, oh my goodness, that's so smart and so brilliant. And it's to actually engage in conversation. And some of that conversation, some of that benefit that we're going to give to people is making people feel seen or heard or feel connected and part of a community. But some of it is actually going to be a bit of that back and forth where we get to see somebody else's perspective, because we're not all living the same perspective. We're not all coming to it from the same door.
Which is a beautiful thing. So like our takeaway from our interviews, when next time when somebody reads your article, please comment, please share what you think.
Yeah.
And you're inviting everyone to like kind of share their feelings about your writing. And last thing I would like to ask, because you're one obviously of the most successful writers here, what kind of advice would you share with everyone that starts writing to try to get their voice out there? Like what would be the first things you would suggest?
I think definitely hit submit. That first submission is the barrier. We feel really uncertain about what's going to happen. We feel, I don't know if I want anyone to see this. And so I think the important part about sharing your voice is to actually share it. Every article I've written is not a perfect article. Some of them I would rewrite today if given the chance, most of them, because I'm a different person today than I am the day that I wrote the article. But I just keep moving forward and keep doing that internal exploration, putting my voice out there and trying to improve the craft. So in order to do that, we need to actually get the work out there. We need to go to that submit button and just feel like we're offering a gift to be of benefit to other people. But we're going to get a lot out of doing that for ourselves as well.
So it's beautifully summed up what we're doing here, what we love doing here every day. So submit your articles. Don't take the comments personal, and try to comment on all the others to connect and kind of share the voices. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today, and looking forward for your next articles. And thank you for sharing your voice with us.
Thank you, Robert.